Recently, I came across this article written by the Today newspaper, and they talk about some of the tensions the neighbor face that's when they are thinking of doing an en-bloc. So this article I find is actually pretty interesting because it talks a lot of some of the stressful and some of the benefits and also the risks of an en-bloc development. Hi, I'm James Lim, founder of the Property Plus system, and today I think I shall be talking about some of the things about en-bloc, things that you should be aware of, and also about the historical trend. So what is en-bloc? En-bloc is actually what we call a collective sales. When the people in the residents of the entire development decided to sell to a developer, and when they sell to a developer at that time, they need to have at least 80% approval before they can even proceed to get to sell to a developer. Okay, so doesn't mean that you want to sell means you can sell. And I'll be also talking about some of the historical trend of it, some of the historical sales, which development has the best sales, and the top 5 asking right, and where are they right now? Have they managed to all be sold? And should you buy an en-bloc development? So let's get on to it. So let's look at the historical sales. Now, this is the total amount of collective sales that en-bloc success in a particular year. Now, one very interesting thing you can see is that the before, pre-COVID and post-COVID. So you can see that from at the bottom over here, those at the bottom are the pre-COVID, because COVID was roughly 2020, and you know the collective sales was actually pretty good in the billions of dollars. And then after you'll see that actually there was a drop from 10 billion over to 500 million, and then COVID becomes 100 over million only for the total collective sales of that year. Now, one of the reasons, if you have looked at the historical, is that China is actually it's one of the consortium that will be merging together with Singapore developers to actually go into en-bloc. And during the 2019 at time, Xi Jinping was actually trying to control the number of outflow cash out of the country, and that is why you will see that there's actually less backing by the China developers. Alright, so that time was the Evergrande issue, if you can remember, in 2019. Then COVID hits, and in 2021 to 2023, the en-bloc total amount of collective sales is between 1 to 2 billion. So this is something I call actually something pretty healthy. Okay, now if we look over for the past 20 years, this is actually a total the trend. Now you can see that what is important for en-bloc is that en-bloc actually has something like a 10-year cycle. So the first very successful en-bloc that was like over 10 over billion was in the 2006 to 2007, and then in 2017 to 2018. So these are the two both en-bloc cycle. So of course, when we look at the next en-bloc cycle, it will be roughly around 2027 or 2028, around that period of time. So why is this cycle important? Because everything in Singapore is actually related, especially en-bloc is actually related to government land sales. So in Singapore, I always share that roughly there are actually 20 big developers who are actually always buying land. Okay, so when the government release very few land, or what we call GLS, government land sales, the developer will be desperate because they need to buy land in order to sell, to have inventory to sell. If not, of course, they will go out of business. So when a developer did not manage to bid for a land then they will have to go for en-bloc. They will find land to buy from the consumers. Alright, and you can see that during this period of time, because the government trying to curb the growth of the property prices, the government in 2023-2024 has been releasing a lot of land. Therefore, that is why we see is one of the historical low en-bloc sales for this particular year. Okay, so what are the top 5 en-bloc sales that has actually happened previously? And I'll show you some interesting trend. So Federal Court was actually en-bloc for 1.3 billion, and this is actually have 3 consortium. One of them is a US-backed consortium, so they are the one who are backing or who are doing the financing. Alright, and while Singapore developers are the one to build. Now don't forget, every time if you have a foreign developer come in, okay, there's always the 6 years QC period, which means the developer has to sell all the units within 6 years upon TOP. If not, for every unit they were not sold, they will be subject to ABSD. And the ABSD is actually 65%, okay, not the 20%, okay, and not the 5%, is 65%, alright. So because of that reason, a lot of local developers are actually very afraid to merge with foreign consortium in order to go for en-bloc. And that is the reason why that, you know, for these are happen in all the good en-bloc cycle. So the fact of the matter is that there is never over $1 billion en-bloc that actually happened before, except in 2007. So, you know, due to inflation, we expect en-bloc to go higher and higher, you know, the price to accept is higher and higher, but that's not true, because the last en-bloc cycle in 2017 and 2018, you know, none of them reached $1 billion, okay, and, you know, the last one was actually 1.3 billion, and then that's it, okay. These are actually the top 5 that is the most popular ones, okay. And if I have to even stretch to the top 20, you will see that there's one very interesting trend that come out, is that, as you saw just now, Farrer Court at 1.3 billion. But what I just want to share is that after COVID, okay, after COVID, there's a lot of inflation, there's a need for a lot of properties. But if you look at the cycle, there is one Chuan Park that is the development is going to launch soon, that is in 2022. Okay, it's also less than 900 million. And there's also another one. If I go down the list, do I have any more? Yep, over here, which is Watten Estate. Okay, Watten Estate at Bukit Timah area, also bought by UOL, you know, and it's going for close to $500 million. So you can see that the trend line majority, right, majority are always less than, there's nothing that is go except for a billion, except for one, and majority, you know, to be safe, is roughly around the 500 million mark. Okay. Now, even if we were to look at the collective sales of last year, so collective sales of last year is only 1.2 billion, and I can just want to show you is that how many successful en-bloc are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 7 en-bloc only. And out of these 7 en-bloc, only one crosses the 500 million mark. The next one is actually less than 400 million, and the rest are all pretty small, okay, in comparison. So one of the lessons learned is that, you know, if you're thinking of buying a property that want to undergo en-bloc, right, do not go for too high of a price tag, okay. If you go for too high of a price tag, it's close to impossible to go en-bloc. Don't forget, you know, developers, they are not going to just throw a 500 million down into a property, buy over it, you know, tear it down, spend more money to construct. They will definitely take loan from the bank. And you know that right now in 2023, 2024, right now it's the high interest rate environment. So developers are also a bit more cautious. They are not going for too big of en-bloc properties. So I just want to show you also the next list is that for the next, these are some of the most expensive en-bloc, potential en-bloc developments, okay, out in the market right now. And I just want to show you that this development, right, has actually undergo en-bloc in 2018. They have actually undergone, some of the developments has actually undergone multiple en-blocs before, since the year 2000. And I just want to show you where are they now. So Mandarin Gardens is one of the top biggest developments out there who wants to en-bloc, okay. And you know, in 2018 they are asking for close to 2.8 billion. You know, and right now, and during the 2018 time, of course, they reached the 80%, and then they managed to successfully put up to en-bloc, but there's no developer going to buy it, okay? And right now, they're asking for 2.88 billion. You know, they believe that your property price has actually went up, the land command more sales, you know, and they're asking for more money, but that happened in 2023, and then, of course, there's no news as of now. They reached the 80% signature, but there's no developer willing to take on this project, even after putting up in the market for 1 year. Pangnam Valley is another one that asking for 2.6 billion in 2018, and as of now, there's no news, okay? So I guess they do not want to en-bloc anymore, okay? Bradder View also asking for more than $2 billion, and also there's no news. Next one is Pine Grove. Pine Grove was asking in 1.86 billion, and now they're asking for 1.65. This happens in 2024, beginning of this year, and right now 6 months, there's still no news at all, or rather there's no developer willing to purchase this entire development, okay? So of course, for the next 3 developments also, there's actually no news at all, which means they are not able to get the 80% signature, When we say no news, basically is that they are not able to get the 80% signature. Now, even if you go on to Property Guru, okay, go on to Property Guru, you will see that there are sales like Farrer Gardens, Laguna Park. There are sales available, which means, right, the owner knows that, right, En-Bloc is not going to be nearby. If En-Bloc is not going to be near, they will decide to sell your unit. So recently, I had actually a client was actually inquiring about Laguna Park. Okay, Laguna Park was asking me whether can buy or not. My take is this: is that are you buying because of the En-Bloc potential, or are you buying because you want to stay in that unit? You know, if you are going to buy hopefully to make a quick buck or to strike the lottery and hope to En-Bloc within the next 2 to 3 years, I don't think so, because you will not be able to you definitely not want to sell. Okay, so why I say that you likely will not want to sell is that right now, let's say you buy a 1.5 million property. Don't forget, if you are to En-Bloc within the next 3 years, you have to pay the seller stamp duty. Okay, so likely you will not want to sell, and that is why from the newspaper article there was a dispute. Okay, there are two camps. One are the pro En-Bloc one, and the other one is do not want to En-Bloc one. The one who do not want to En-Bloc, likely they are the one who are just recent purchaser, likely after COVID. Okay, so what are the lessons learned? Okay, some of the lessons learned is that when a development has a too high of a total price tag, okay, it's very hard to find a developer to buy over the development. Okay, because why? The scenario is different from last time and now. Okay, right now you will see that majority of En-Bloc are always by single developers. Single developers do not have a lot of purchasing power. They will not buy anything that's more than 300 to 500 million. There's a lot of risk to them. You know, even for them taking a bank loan, bank interest rate is actually very high right now. Okay, and I also like to share with you that never buy for the sake of En-Bloc. Okay, just because you think that, oh, this unit is going to En-Bloc soon, you want to buy into it. Don't forget, if when you buy into it, you want to hold for 3 years because you don't want to pay the seller stamp duty, or maybe you move in your own house, you spend money on renovation, you may not even make back the money. It happens to some of my past clients before. Okay, and then when you buy into it, that time definitely you will be the 20% that you do not want to En-Bloc. And in the scenario, there may be a possible scenario is that if they hit the 80% signature, you have no choice. Even if you make a loss, you have no choice but to sell the property at a loss due to that they have hit the 80% signature of En-Bloc. Okay, now the next one also, I just want to share that even if you buy an old development, be willing to hold long term. Okay, because of our En-Bloc cycle happens in 2007, then after it happens 10 years later in 2017, and let's assume that in 2027, 2028, for the next potential En-Bloc cycle, it never went through. Then you have to wait for 10 more years for it to En-Bloc, and then you may be stuck with this old property. Okay, don't forget, old property harder to sell. Okay, and you know there's always a potential tenants between your neighbors, so it may not be so harmonious. For this, do read more of the article. I think the article is pretty good because the writer, the newspaper reporter, he actually went down to interview the people. So I thought that it was a pretty good article for you to read if you're interested in En-Bloc. Okay, and now there are two other things, which is the ABSD and the 15-month wait cycle. So one of the trend that people do is that when they get your collective money sales that time, they want to find a place to, like, in a way, retire lah. Okay, so a lot of them, I know that they actually shifted into the HDB. Okay, now the problem right now is that if you, let's say your unit is undergoing En-Bloc, okay, I want to buy another property, okay, and because right now, because you are still own the property, you are forced to pay the ABSD. So some people, even before collecting your cash from the En-Bloc at the time, they need to buy a property. They do not have enough cash to buy the property because they need to pay ABSD. Okay, alternatively, if you get the collective money that time, you get the money that time from your En-Bloc already, then you say you want to buy a property. By then, I'm going to say that where are you going to stay during that period, you know, because when you get the cash immediately, you go and purchase, you still got the 2-3 months, and then maybe you still got the renovation period, so maybe there's a 6 months lag. I'm going to say where are you going to stay. Okay, and I know a lot of people who actually undergo En-Bloc at the time, they move back to HDB, and right now, because the government is controlling, there's a 15-month wait cycle to downgrade from a condominium to a HDB. So definitely for the 15 months, you have to, after En-Bloc, you have to rent somewhere wait for 15 months and before you can buy a resale HDB. And you know that HDB price right now is actually at an all-time high. So some of the people also have been saying that, hey, why are people willing to buy so high record-breaking HDB prices? Well, it's because of this group of people who actually get a lot of money from the En-Bloc, okay? And that is why, that is where the money comes from. And so this is actually one of the reasons why people are they have the cash to pay high price for HDB that has actually as good view or as big space as your current condominiums that was previously En-Bloc. Okay, so these are some of the lessons learned. Do take note that if you are thinking of buying a resale property, I do have consultation services that I do share with my clients to share when will this development likely En-Bloc, the potential of it being En-Bloc, and what is the likelihood of it being En-Bloc, and what is the total cash amount of savings or profit that you may look at. Okay, so I do offer all this consultation. If you are keen or you are looking for a certain developments, do feel free to drop a WhatsApp. My number can be found on my website attached in the description below. If you like this video and you learn something, please give a thumbs up button. I hope you have learned something new today. Thank you so long and bye.